There's one eternal truth in life. It's this. In a storm, you hold tight to the rudder of your ship. You don't jump overboard to chase a damn seagull. Sounds obvious, doesn't it? But let me tell you, in my long life, I've seen more supposedly smart people in one storm after another gleefully leap off the sturdy ships they built with their own hands. They dive headfirst after some flashy-looking, utterly meaningless seagull, only to disappear into the waves without so much as a ripple. This isn't a tragedy, it's stupidity. The most common and most incurable kind of human folly. There's a peculiar impulse in human nature, and that is the urge to tear down the very things we've worked so hard to build. It sounds absurd, I know, but look around you. Look at yourself. The sun is shining and the seas are calm. Everyone's a nautical genius. You'll spend months, even years, studying maps, analyzing currents, and building a solid ship. And plot a course from point A to point B that looks flawless, clear destination, sound logic. You tell yourself, these are my principles, my philosophy. But the moment the first storm cloud appears, the moment the first wave crashes on deck and the ship starts to sway, the calm, rational captain in your head goes on vacation. In his place is a terrified monkey, screeching and desperate to grab onto time's anything asterisk. And what is that seagull? It's the embodiment of all your pipe dreams. It might be the stock on the front page that shot up tenfold overnight. It might be some can't-miss investment opportunity your friend was bragging about at dinner. Or maybe it's just some futuristic-sounding buzzword you don't even understand. Out there on the choppy seas, your ship is lurching, and you feel sick, scared, and hopeless. Then this seagull glides past. It looks so free, so effortless, flying right into the wind as if the storm doesn't affect it at all. In your eyes, it becomes the only hope, your life raft. You forget it's just a bird. It doesn't even know where it's going next. So you make the fatal decision. You let go of the rudder. The ship you poured your blood, sweat, and tears into is now adrift at the mercy of the waves. You scramble onto the railing and leap toward the spot where the seagull disappeared, thinking you're seizing hope. You're not. You're just jumping into a cold, churning, unforgiving ocean. You think you're chasing an opportunity, but you're actually embracing your own demise. And the seagull, it didn't even notice you. It was just looking for a fish or flying wherever the wind took it. Your life and death are of no concern to it. You forgot about your ship. And that's the saddest part. Your ship, your portfolio, your business, your life's plan wasn't built in a day. It was designed and constructed based on decades, even centuries, of meteorological data, which is to say, the long-term patterns of the market. Every plank in its hull represents a solid, long-term asset you believe in. The sails are the tools you use to catch the trade winds of long-term trends. And the rudder, your investment philosophy, is there to ensure that no matter the weather, the ship stays its course toward that distant shore you call financial freedom or a comfortable retirement. In calm seas, you had complete faith in your ship. You'd proudly show off its sleek lines, its tall mast, its fine rudder. But the minute a storm hits, all of that suddenly feels like a liability. You start to doubt everything. Is the design outdated? Are the planks strong enough? Was this the wrong course all along? Your fear and anxiety seep like seawater into every crack of your conviction, rotting the very foundations of your reason. At that point, any little noise sounds like a divine revelation. So where does contrarian wisdom come in? It's not about predicting when the storm will come or go. Nobody can do that. Anyone who says they can is either a liar or a fool. The wisdom of thinking differently is in understanding one simple thing. The more chaotic things get, the more you must cling to the principles you established when you were calm and rational. The storm's purpose isn't for you to perform sea acrobatics, learn to walk on water, or chase seagulls. The storm's only purpose is to test the integrity of your ship. So, when the wind howls and everyone on deck is screaming, crying, and getting ready to jump, what does a real captain do? He goes down into the cabin, not up on deck. He checks for leaks in the hull before he looks at the height of the waves. He tightens the rigging instead of praying for a seagull to appear. His job is not to defeat the storm, but to make sure his ship survives it. His eyes are fixed on the compass, not the lightning outside. He knows the storm will pass. But if the ship is gone, what good is a sunny day? Persistence. The word sounds so boring, doesn't it? So unheroic. In this day and age, people worship the clever ones who can catch the next big wave or find a brilliant shortcut. They're like the seagull chasers. Once in a while, one of them gets lucky and washes up on a small island, and he becomes a legend everyone talks about. But for every one of them, there are 999 others who drowned, and nobody ever mentions them. Meanwhile, the fellow who looks like a fool, silently holding the rudder in the ship's cabin, enduring the nausea and fear when the storm passes and his ship is still on course. No one gives him a round of applause. They just say, "Look, he got lucky. He was on a good ship." They got it all wrong. It's not luck. It's the most powerful strategy in the world. That dull, boring, day in and day out persistence is an unbeatable force. Why? Because it's not fighting the market, the economy, or any external enemy. It's a battle against human nature itself, against that monkey in your head that wants to run at the first sign of trouble and chase every shiny object it sees. Beating the market is hard, but beating the monkey in your own head is 1,000 times harder. I've seen so many so-called investment geniuses. In the bull market, they make more money than anyone, using all sorts of novel methods. They're like flashy speedboat drivers, zipping around on a calm sea, performing tricks and getting cheers from the shore. And me? I'm just an old man steering a big, clumsy freighter. I'm slow, and I turn like a whale. They laugh at me, say I missed this trend and that opportunity. I pay them no mind. I just make sure my freighter's engine is running, the cargo is secure, and the course is true. Then the storm hits. Those beautiful speedboats are the first to be capsized by the waves. My clumsy old freighter gets tossed around, sure, and it's enough to make you sick. But its thick hull and sheer mass allow it to plow through one monster wave after another. The storm passes. The only thing left on the water is my ship and the wreckage of those speedboats. As slow is fast. That's a lesson it took me nearly a century to fully appreciate. Everyone who tries to take a shortcut ends up taking the longest road or never reaches their destination at all. Now you plant an apple tree. You can't expect to get fruit the next day. You have to water it, fertilize it, and protect it from pests. The process is long and tedious. Along the way, you'll face droughts, floods, and infestations. Are you going to chop down your apple tree just because your neighbor's radishes are sprouting in a few weeks? If you do, you'll never taste an apple. Investing is the same. When you buy a good company, you're planting a good sapling. You need to give it time to grow in the soil of the economy. Market fluctuations are just the droughts and storms of its growing season. Your job is to wait patiently, not to dig it up every day to see how tall it is, or to abandon it because some other plant seems to be growing faster. The psychology is always more important than methodology. You can learn 100 ways to read a chart and memorize 1,000 financial models. But if you can't control your own emotions, all that knowledge will betray you when you need it most. Fear and greed are the two oldest programs hardwired into our DNA. In a market storm, fear will scream, "Sell. It's all going to zero. Get out now before you lose everything." In a bull market frenzy, greed will whisper, "Buy, everyone's getting rich. You're going to miss out." Those two voices are the siren song, luring you off your ship to chase the seagulls. A true investor's life's work isn't to master market prediction, but to master himself. He has to be like a surgeon, dissecting his own psychological weaknesses. He sets ironclad rules for himself, not to seize opportunities, but to prevent himself from doing something stupid in a moment of panic. For instance, he might have a rule that when the market is in a state of extreme fear, he not only refuses to sell, but he takes out his reserve cash and buys the good assets that everyone else is tossing out like garbage. It's like being in a storm and seeing people on other ships throwing gold overboard because they think it's just heavy rock. Your job is to scoop it up. This is hard, because the monkey in your head will be screaming at you to stop. But this is the real secret to making serious money. Not buying in the frenzy, but positioning yourself in the gloom. Look at all those analysts on TV and online, pontificating endlessly. They're the guys standing on the shore, pointing and shouting at the ships at sea. Today they say, "The wind is blowing east." Tomorrow they'll say, "The waves are coming from the west." They make a living by manufacturing anxiety and selling hope. They will constantly show you different seagulls. This one has brighter feathers. That one has a louder call. They want you to think everything on your ship is junk and that the only real hope is the seagull they're pointing at. Why? Because if you just stay quietly on your own ship, they don't make any money. Your anxiety is their salary. Your frantic trading is their bonus. A wise sailor learns to shut the cabin window, ignore the noise outside, and listen only to the compass inside. When I was young, I chased a few seagulls myself. One time, I sold off my stock in a stable, boring old railroad company because I thought it was growing too slowly. I put all the money into an electronics company that was supposedly going to change the world. And what happened? A small recession, like a moderate squall, came along, and that world-changing company went bankrupt. Meanwhile, that old railroad company kept chugging along, hauling freight every single day. Decades later, its value has multiplied more times than I can count. After that, I made a rule for myself. Never sell a business that lets you sleep at night to buy a so-called opportunity that keeps you up with excitement. The former is your ship. The latter is a seagull. So, what do you actually do? It's simple. So simple it sounds ridiculous. First, when the weather is calm, use all of your reason and intellect to build a ship that is strong enough to withstand a once-in-a-decade, a once-in-a-century storm. This means diversification, not putting all your eggs in one basket. It means deeply understanding what you own, buying only assets you fully comprehend, and whose long-term prospects you believe in. And it means keeping enough cash on hand your ship's reserve food and water in case the voyage takes longer than planned. Second, once you've built your ship and set your course, lock the blueprints and the logbook in a chest that's hard to open. The rudder. Your only job is to man the rudder. Check your heading daily to make sure you haven't drifted, but don't change your entire route because of a few small waves. You have to trust the decisions you made when you were calm and rational. They are infinitely more reliable than any impulse you have when you're scared and anxious. The people have a terrible habit of overestimating their short-term judgment and vastly underestimating the power of long-term persistence. Third, when the storm truly hits, your to-do list is very short. 1. Check the hull. That means reevaluating your core holdings. Ask yourself, have their fundamentals changed? Is their long-term value gone? If the answer is no, then you do nothing. 2. Calm the passengers. That means calming your own emotions. Turn off the television. Stay away from anxiety-peddling news. Read a good book. Take a walk. Talk to someone you love. You have to understand that the market's short-term gyrations have about as much real impact on your long-term life as whether or not your dog is in a good mood today. If you have extra ammunition, your reserve cash, look around for any good assets others have thrown overboard, to pick them up and use them to strengthen your ship. You see, there's no heroism in this whole process, no thrilling moments. It's filled with waiting, patience, and a persistence that borders on faith. It's boring, but building wealth is supposed to be boring. It's not a roll of the dice in a casino. It's more like running a farm. You sow in the spring, water in the summer, harvest in the fall, and rest in the winter. You can't skip a season. The market storm is simply winter in the investment world. It's cold and hard to get through, but it's also the necessary period for storing up energy for the spring bloom. The smart farmer doesn't dig up his seeds to eat them in the winter. He guards his granary, mends his tools, and waits for spring. Stop watching the seagulls. Their flight paths are chaotic, random, and unpredictable. Betting your life savings on the random flight path of a bird isn't investing. It's financial suicide. Your ship is the only thing you can truly rely on in this vast, uncertain ocean. You need to care for it, trust it, and most importantly, stay on it. Don't abandon it just because the ride gets a little bumpy. In my lifetime, I've lived through more once-in-a-century crises than I can count. Wars, depressions, bubbles, crashes. Every time it felt like the sky was falling. Every time, countless people jumped ship to chase all sorts of seagulls. Every time, after the storm passed and the sun shone on the water again, I saw the same sight, my old freighter, a bit more battered and worn, and still sailing steadily on its original course. And all around, floating on the surface, was the debris left by the seagull chasers. So the next time the storm comes, when you feel that fear grip you, when you see that beautiful seagull fly past and beckon to you, I want you to take a deep breath, turn around, go back to your cabin, and with all your strength, hold on to that rudder. Hold on tight, because only the rudder can bring you home. Persistence, in and of itself, is the most powerful strategy of all. That's the one thing I've learned in my long life that I know with absolute certainty to be true.